Okay. Yeah, so I'm recording this topic for today, and recording video. If the video goes well, then I will share it with you. If not, I will record it again later and I'll share the good one with you. Okay. All right. So project management is the topic we learned today. The global company profile explained in the book is Special Group. You will read that from the book, and it explains very well what we have on that. You will learn about importance of project management, project planning, project scheduling, project controlling, project management techniques, PERT and CPM methods. So PERT is program evaluation and review techniques. Program evaluation and review techniques. CPM is critical path method. Critical path method. Okay. So these are the two things you will learn. And then I'm going to have determining the project schedule, variability in activity times. So we're going to calculate some statistics, measures like variance, standard deviation, z-value, the probability, confidence interval, all of those things you learn in statistics, you will see them here. Okay. Cost, time trade-offs, and project crashing. So if there is a change in the project, how can we, or if there is a change in the plans of the project, how can we make changes to the system to stay efficient? A critic of PERT and CPM and using Microsoft Project to manage projects. So I will not teach you the Microsoft Project because we don't have a computer lab, but I can add that as one of your extra credit opportunities. So if you learn Microsoft Project to complete an assignment, like an example that we have in the slides, for that example, you use Microsoft Project to get the answers and present it, record yourself or record your screen completing that project, and you can get five extra credit. That's a 5 extra credit. I think that's another extra credit opportunity. I will send an email and announce all of these extra credit opportunities a few weeks later. Okay. So that's a special project. You will read this from the book. Learning objectives. Use a Gantt chart. So you will learn what a Gantt chart is. You will learn how to create a Gantt chart today. Not today, probably next time on Thursday. You will learn the difference between AOA, AON networks. So we will only focus on AON networks. And if you ask what is AOA, AON, AOA is activity on arrows. When you are graphing a network, if you put numbers on the arrows, that's AOA. If you put numbers on knots, that's AON. If you have any question, just ask. So which one do we use for class? We use AON. AON, activity on knot. Okay. So complete forward and backward passes for project, determine a critical path, and calculating the variance of activity of times and crashing a project. We'll move on. Examples of project, building constructions. I'm sure you all have seen when a company starts building and construct a tower, for example, or a building or office building. Normally, when you pass that place every day, at the beginning, you don't see anything. They clean up everything. They flatten the place. They start bringing in materials, putting materials, adding things. More workers start working. More materials come in, installed, and slowly the building goes up, right? But this all requires planning, scheduling, controlling, and making sure things go well. Or research projects, explanation of research projects. For example, creating a certain medicine or medication, that's a research project. That requires timing, resources, planning, scheduling, making sure things work and project completes by a specific time, making sure the quality is right there. Okay, so these are examples of. Easiest example of project management is your daily work. So you want to accomplish something in one day or multiple things in one day. You need to plan your day. You need to know what time to wake up, what time to go there, what time to go to that store, what time to meet that friend, what time to attend the class, what time to complete your assignments. All these requires planning, scheduling. And after that, it requires controlling, making sure you are doing what you planned. If you don't, then that could be a problem. Okay, so you can see here that planning, management of a project includes planning, scheduling, controlling, goal setting, defining project team organization, relate people. That's a part of scheduling. So scheduling, you need to relate people, money, supplies, specific activities and activities to each other. So there are lots of activities. Some are supposed to be done earlier, some later. The time it takes to complete one activity. Do you have a question? So make sure you are mute unless you have a question. If you have a question, just ask me, please. Or you can type it in the chat. And type your question in the chat. All right, so scheduling, controlling. So an example of controlling is what you learned earlier in control charts. We learned control charts that tells us if there is a process to be completed and certain upper bound can be time, can be expenses, cost, can be projects being completed in a certain time or being done in a certain quality or certain category. They are in the range that we determined for, we planned for, we scheduled for. If they don't meet the schedule, things are going wrong, your project is in the risk of failure. So you don't want that to happen. So you need to control. You need to keep monitoring resources, cost, quality, budgets, revise plans, and shift resources to meet time and cost demands. Okay. And if things go wrong, it's okay. You always need to adjust to changes. Good example for this is what we are doing right now. So our goal was to meet in class, have some exams, project, final exam, and then finish the semester, making sure students have learned, making sure you have assessed, and then your grades are out. You learn and you pass the course or get a good grade, right? And because of class cancellations, we couldn't do it. So we didn't cancel the whole thing. We changed our plan. we changed our scheduling, we changed our assessment process, and with that, we're still on the same project. We're trying to finish the semester successfully. Means you learn topics and you pass the course, get a good grade, and go to the next step. So that's a chart for project management activities. There might be question on this. The chart goes on your question. And for example, planning would be there, but objectives, resources is not there. And the question will ask you, which of the following is under planning? And then you select the ones that are here. So this slide is important for exams, okay? So remember this slide, 313, objectives, resources, work breakdown, structure, these are under planning. Project activities, start and end times, network are under scheduling. Monitor, compare, revise, action, these are under controlling. So you need to have a good understanding of these three. Which one comes first? Planning comes first. Then using the planning, you can use the planning to make schedule. After scheduling, having your network, monitoring, you can start your controlling. When you control, of course, reality always is different from theoretical. So theoretically, planning and scheduling are being done. They are on paper. They are not reality. But when you start doing the project, that's where things are not exactly the same as what we calculated on paper. So we need to make changes. So we see that something is not going as we thought. So what happens? On controlling part, it's a controlling part, we see things are not happening as scheduled. So what we do, we replan. We find problems, we revise our plans, and this planning have changes, and after that the scheduling have changes. And then we apply them to reality again. We check, monitor, compare, collect data, revise again if there is a mistake, if we're not getting to our goal smoothly, and then action, we need to change. And then this change goes and goes and goes until we make sure we are efficiently working on the project, and the project is smoothly moving forward and we will have success. So ask me if you have any questions. So the next slide, project planning, scheduling, and controlling, is explained step by step. So planning first. So first step of planning is estimating cost, estimating time, and estimating the performance, and setting goals. So these four are actually very important for us. Setting goals requires knowing the triangle of time, cost, and performance. And from there, you can start defining the project. You define the project and explain what the project is about, since you already know the time and cost and performance. You can add more details on paper, explain things, define things. And after that, you can develop a work breakdown. What tasks are to be done, and then what is the next task? What is the next task? And that continues up to completing the project. You can also say who is the project manager, who is leading this project, who are helping this person, what other categories of work are to be done. They're not necessarily just two, it can be 3 or 4 or 5. So you will have a larger network here, and then break down to smaller tasks to be done and completed, okay? Identifying the team resources. So that's where you already know what tasks are supposed to be done to complete, for you to successfully complete your project. The next step is to hiring people, buying material, putting together more information. So this is hiring process, buying material. They need to complete the project, and more information, and other things that not written here. So this 4 is the first step of the work, which is planning. After planning, it's time for scheduling. So for scheduling, the first thing we need is the sequence of activities or activities network. So this shows relation between tasks. Which task is to be done prior to the others? Which task is after, right? One by one is graphed here. And all these can be created by having all these information right here. You have all these information, you get all these information, costs and task breakdowns. Using these two, they give you some data. Using those data, you will create your sequence activities. Okay. When you have your sequence of activities, you can assign people you hire. Hire people, you assign them to each activity. Then after that, you can have your schedule. You have your schedule and say that, so this activity should start at this point, finish at this point because it takes this amount of time. The next activity can start at this point. So all these activities back to back are required until you complete your project. And then, of course, putting everything on schedule resources. And after that, you have your controlling. So, so controlling is more about monitoring, data collection, getting information with different methods. Can be manual if it's a small company. If it's a big company, you need to keep working on data collection in different ways with sensors, with questionnaires, with surveys, with using cameras, using automations of systems. Collect data, make sure everything is moving as scheduled, right? So if things are not moving as scheduled or planned, then you need to make changes. You make changes and you replan, reschedule, and control again. And this continues until you finish this project. Sometimes you have to shift resources, change resources or human resources. All right, so project planning, scheduling, and controlling all together, they are required to complete a project. So this slide is important too. 318. So you might have questions like CPM, CPM, PRT, or PERT are part of which of the following? Then the question will ask you planning, scheduling, controlling, none of the above, or all of the above. So you will put scheduling. It may say Gantt chart is a part of which of the following. So you can have those kind of questions. So slide 318 is important. Remember this. Any of these can be a question on exam. PowerPoint 318. So in project planning, you will have establishing objective, defining project, creating work breakdown structure, determining resources, forming organization. There is enough amount of explanation and examples of these topics in the book. I won't spend time on those. The ones, the topics I will focus on will be the part that we have. It's more complicated and we have calculations, okay? Project organization, often temporary structure, because at the beginning we don't have much information. The more we go forward with the project, we get more information, we have a better structure. It uses specialists from entire company. So if you are the project manager, you are not supposed to know all those jobs, how they are being done exactly, what restrictions are available, what costs are involved. So you always call for a meeting, start checking with the specialists, with the professions in that area, in that the lower managers in those areas. And they are the ones that are professional specialists in that area. They will tell you what problems they might have, how long the task might take, what are the risks, what are the costs, what are the changes can happen, and so on. Okay. Headed by the project manager. So project manager is the person who manages or who heads this project, coordinates activities, monitors schedule and cost, permanent structure called matrix of organization. The project organization is most helpful when work can be defined with a specific goal or deadline. The job is unique or somewhat unfamiliar with the existing organization. The work contains complex, interrelated tasks requiring specialized skills. The project is temporary but critical to the organization. The project cuts across organizational lines. So in general, we can say when there is higher level of complexity, there are more resources, more tasks, and variety of tasks involved. Project organization, project management is required. That's a sample of project organization. So as you're reading assignment, you have this chart in your book, and read this. It's in one page and explain both of these. Tells you what they are. The role of the project manager, it's highly visible, responsible for making sure that all necessary activities are finished in order and on time. The project comes in within the budget. So budgeting is very important for us, because if you have everything planned well, you have hired enough people, purchased or ordered all the resources you need, all the material you need, but you didn't think about the budget. You wrongly estimated the costs, or your cost is higher than your budget. Then in the middle of the project will have to stop. So you don't want to let that happen. So budgeting is very important. The project meet quality goals. The people assigned to the project receive motivation, direction, and information. So you need to make sure your resources are not confused about their own task. And that requires lots of meetings, making sure there are enough trainings, making sure there's enough motivation and information. And it's always best to give information not only orally, but written, so they can say, oh, I didn't know. The best way is to make sure give information written, and have meetings so they can ask their questions. Project managers should be good coaches. That's in general, right? There have to be good coaches, because motivating, giving direction, helping employees to work and get things done, something that is actually requires understanding and helping a person to move toward successfully complete a task. And this has to be done for each task separately. So we want to make sure that these tasks are done successfully. So the next tasks are done successfully, and step by step, we move forward to complete this project. Good communicator, because always there are misunderstandings, problems happening, mistakes happening. So if a project manager is not good in communication, that might bring a lot of problem. People might leave the organization. People might reduce the way they engage and they feel responsible about the project, and that's not good. So being a good communicator is important. Able to organize activities from a variety of disciplines. So the project management manager needs to know what tasks are being done in general, not in details, but in general. At least you need to know what is expected in each task, so that when you go and observe or get information, they can't cheat. They can't tell you they're doing it, but they're actually not doing it. Ethical issues exist in project management, and especially for the project manager. And that normally comes in with some offers of gift from contractors. Some higher level managers may pressure to alter status report to mask delays. False report might be requested by higher managers to charge more time, show higher expenses so they can make more money. Pressure to compromise quality to meet schedules. So these are things that actually many project managers face those, and it's best never fall in these categories, because when you fall in these categories, you are the one, you as a project manager, you are the one who is signing papers. And if at the end of the day you, for example, make a breach and that breach falls, you are the one, you are one of the top people who is responsible for that, because you are the one who is supposed to make sure everything, especially quality, is as expected. So work breakdown structure: project, major task in project, subtask in major task, and activities. So activities to be completed, these are the lowest level, and that's an example here. Again, explanation of this slide is available in the book. That's for your reading. So project scheduling techniques: ensure that all activities are planned for. Their order of performance is accounted for. The activity time estimates are recorded. Overall project time is developed. Of course, there is no expectation to accurately calculate the overall project time, or even for activity times. But there's always an estimation. So we always try to estimate how long it takes for you to complete this task and this task. And we add them up, and we can say, we can come up with an estimation of time to complete the whole project. So this estimation includes errors, and of course, with some 95 to 99% accuracy of control limit, you can find some upper bound and lower bound for time of completion. And that's something normal, and that's something that you're going to learn. So you're going to learn if, for example, the method we use for scheduling tell us this project is going to be done in 10 weeks. With 95% confidence, what are the lower and upper bound for the time of completion? And we would come up probably with some answers like, it could be 2 weeks earlier or 2 weeks late. So maximum delay would be 12 weeks. Earliest we can complete it is 8 weeks. So you're going to learn this and how to calculate this. That's the statistics part coming up later. Do you have any question up to this point? Anyone has any question up to this point? Are we good? You're so quiet. Is everyone there? All good. Okay. Thank you, Eric. Thank you. Thank you, Lana. Nice. Okay. You didn't sleep. Okay. Nice. Okay. Perfect. Perfect. We have like 10, 15 more minutes to go. Let's get somewhere. Perfect. Thank you. Thank you. All right. So purposes of project scheduling, it shows the relationship of each activity to others and to the whole project, identifies the precedences relationships among activities, which means it tells us which activity is prior to the other and which activity is next coming up. Encourages the setting of realistic time and cost estimates for each activity, helps make better use of people, money, material resources by identifying critical bottlenecks in the project. Some of the project management techniques. So of course, these are not the only project management techniques available in the world, but these are the basics that anywhere you go, you're expected to know it. Anywhere you want to work, if you say, I know project management, you're expected to know Gantt chart, you're expected to know critical path method, you're expected to know program evaluation and review techniques of PERT. So what is CPM? CPM is critical path method. What is PERT? It's program evaluation and review techniques. And you will see a Gantt chart soon. So this is a Gantt chart, simple Gantt chart. I don't know if you have seen Gantt charts before, but so if the time to complete the project is, for example, from January to that's June, July, August, September. So from January to September. Then design process based on calculations will tell you design process should start in January and it can take up to June. Then you need to start prototype somewhere in March, earlier in March, and you need to complete it before end of April. Tests should be started in mid-April, completed in somewhere in mid-June, and so on, okay? But these are all going to be calculated. You will learn how to calculate these, and you will know where these are coming from. That's another Gantt chart for for an airline. So you can see when there are more tasks, more details, there is higher level of complexity. It becomes more complex, more difficult to control the project. It's become riskier. It requires higher professional employees to take care of these kind of projects. So project controlling, close monitoring of resources, cost, quality, budget. Feedback enables revising the project plan and shift resources. Computerized tools produce extensive reports. Available softwares. These are actually not all of the or top softwares, but these are maybe for beginners. Microsoft Project is what I know how to use. MindView, I know how to use it. I haven't used the rest, HP project, fast track, Oracle, I haven't used, but I know those two. And those are pretty much basic. They're not very advanced project management softwares. And yep. So I told you, if you learn Microsoft Project and you can make a video and explain the example in this chapter, solve the example in this chapter using Microsoft Project, then you will get 5 points extra credit. Of course, it has to be done correctly. If there's a mistake in it, then you will get less credit. Okay, so project control reports. Detailed cost breakdowns for each task, labor requirements, cost and hour summaries, raw materials and expenditure forecast, variance reports, time analysis reports, work status reports. These are not all reports we need for a project, but these are, we can say these are the minimum things we need. They're the minimum reports you need. Of course, the bigger the project, there are other reports that are not written here, and you most probably learn those when you become a project manager and really start working. So when you really start working on a project in the future, hopefully, you will see that many of those things you learned here, they're not actually happening. There are other things. There are more details required than what you learned here. But this chapter, this course is giving you a big picture of what to expect if you want to become a project manager. Let's talk about PERT and CPM. I'll tell you, PERT is Program Evaluation and Review Techniques, and CPM is Critical Path Method. History of these two are available in the book. Read it. So it doesn't, I will never ask those. Consider precedence, relationships, and interdependencies. So what task is dependent on the previous or other task? This is very important in scheduling. Each uses a different estimate of activity times. 6 steps of PERT and CPM. So this slide and the next slide are important. So there might be questions that ask you which of the following is not among the 6 steps of PERT and CPM. So you need to make sure you know these 6 steps, okay? Define the project and prepare work breakdown structure. Develop relationships among activities. Decide which activities must proceed and which must follow others. Draw a network connecting all of the activities. Assign time and cost estimates to each activity. Compute the longest time path through the network. This is called critical path. Use the network to help plan, schedule, monitor, and control the project. So calculating the critical path is the topic that you will learn next time. And that's actually helping us a lot to create and schedule and create a Gantt chart. So first thing you need to know is how to calculate the critical path. And after that, you will learn more things. Questions that PERT and CPM can answer are: when will the entire project be completed? What are the critical activities or tasks in the project? What are the non-critical activities? So there is a difference between critical and non-critical activities. What's the main difference? The main difference is there are activities that the project cannot go on without completing those activities. So there are activities that they must be there, they must happen, those tasks are supposed to be completed for the project to move on, especially those tasks that they are not flexible in timing, in quality. So those are critical activities. How do we recognize those? So the PERT and CPM methods are going to tell us which task, which activity is critical, is very important. The time limit given 1 week, 5 days for that task cannot change. You must complete it by that time. So knowing that those important activities, which one are the important activities, which one are not flexible, is very important for a project manager, because the project manager will know that there must be enough resources, professional employees working on those, making sure that these employees, they don't make mistakes, they don't delay, they are committed to the work, and they can successfully complete the task by the time given to them. Okay, so those are critical activities. They are not flexible. The easiest thing you can remember from critical activities is critical activities are not flexible. Critical are the ones that are not flexible. They're not flexible, so you have to complete them on time. But there are others that they're not critical. If there's a delay for some of them, it's okay, because their delay will not delay the whole project. Okay. What is another question we can answer is, what's the probability the project will be completed by a specific date? What is the probability the project will be completed by a specific date? So we can calculate statistically the date the project to complete, and we can create a confidence interval for that. Other questions? Is the project on schedule, behind schedule, or ahead of schedule? Is the money spent equal to, less than, or greater than the budget? Are there enough resources available to finish the project on time? If the project must be finished in a shorter time, what is the way to accomplish this at minimum cost? All right, so we don't have a question. I continue to making networks. So very soon I'm going to stop in a few minutes. And the rest of the topics I will explain next time. So give me a few more minutes to get this done. The comparison of AON and AOA network convention. So I told you AON is activity or not. What's the difference? The difference is we have these activities in this direction, these arrows, they show when activity A is completed, then activity B, then activity C. Or activity B requires the completion of activity A, and activity C requires completion of activity B. That's how we read this, right? Here we can say A and B must both be completed. So if A can be done in 1 week, B can be done in 2 weeks. You cannot start C sooner than 2 weeks. Why? Because it requires both to be completed. So B should be completed in 2 weeks. A can be completed in 1 week. After 1 week, A is done, but A has to wait for B to complete. Then both together can go and complete in C. And the other one, we can say B and C cannot begin until A is completed. There are others that you can read those. You can read these. So we're not going to use AOA. We will not use AOA. You will never have a question on an AOA from me. All of my questions will be on AON. There is no difference in calculation. They're the same. It's just different way of presenting the networks, okay? So we have an example here. Milwaukee paper manufacturing's activities and predecessors. So you can see A and B are the starting point. So we always start with the start node, and then 2 arrows go to A and B, build internal components, modify roof, and so on. So we can see that activity C is dependent on activity A. That means C can start immediately right after A is completed. It's not dependent on B. But activity D is dependent on A and B at the same time. So we can actually show that on the network here. So that's the beginning, this is the starting point. You can see C and D are added. So C is only connected to A, but D requires both A and B to be completed. When can we start D? After the maximum time of completion of these two, whichever is the maximum, whichever is higher. And you can continue using that table. You can continue and create this chart. My suggestion to you is when I'm done, you just check, make sure you can create the same network. It's not difficult, it's an easy job to do. This is AOA, so we don't need AOA. So performing a critical path analysis is left for the next time, okay? So this is not for today. It takes longer time to complete that. So that was a job for today. And on Thursday, I will continue this topic. So we finished about 50 slides, almost half. There are 105 slides, if you see up here. There are 105 slides. This is a very long chapter. So we're going to continue the other half next time we meet. I have videos on these topics. I will share them with you so you can watch probably before Thursday. So Thursday we can have an efficient class so that you can learn this pretty much well. So I recommend you to watch those videos I sent you. And next time you come back to class, you will have a better, faster understanding, because this topic will be, the critical path will be quite complex, okay? So you will have to do a lot of calculations. So if you watch those videos I sent you, the videos actually explain exactly the same example I'm going to explain for you here. Exactly the same thing here is explained in the video I share with you, okay? So watch that video and learn it from that video, so when I explain it, you immediately get it. Because if not, I have the experience that for some classes it took me 2 weeks to explain this topic. I don't want that to happen because we don't have that much time. All right. So one more time, exam 2 will be after spring break. Exam 2 after spring break. Exam 2 after spring break. Only on chapter 12. So you can start reviewing chapter 12 from now, prepare well, and get a good grade on chapter 12. And this topic, chapter 3, will be added to final exam only. Or maybe I just added to extra credit. I haven't decided yet, okay? So if you have a question, please stay and ask. If you don't have a question, I won't take roll because I recorded this session and I will share it with our students. So if you don't have a question,